Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting of the Public Works Committee to order. Grimsby is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Haudenosaunee, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The regional municipality of Niagara and Grimsby stand with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Our first order of business is disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we can move on to the approval of the agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda, please? I've got Member Murphy, moved by Member Murphy, seconded by Councillor DeVoley. Resolved that the agenda for the July 30th, 2025 Public Works Committee meeting be approved. All in favor? That's carried. Receipt of previous minutes. Can I get a mover and seconder to receive the previous minutes, please? Councillor Kristanji and Councillor Howe. Resolved that the minutes of the May 28th, 2025 Public Works Committee meeting be received. Are there any questions or comments on those minutes? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. There are no delegations. So we can move on to discussion reports. The first discussion report tonight is DPW 2513 pedestrian crossover at Nellis Road South. Can I get a mover and seconder to get this report on the floor for discussion, please? Moved by Councillor Howe, seconded by Member Smink. I saw your hand before. I didn't want you to feel left out. Brandon, please go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I'm going to hand it off to Michael.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, we're here tonight to present the report for the pedestrian crossover at along Nellis Road South, and to recommend the proposed bylaw amendment to add it to our existing traffic bylaw. A little bit of background about this project. It is part of the ongoing Nellis and Dorchester sidewalk construction project. It came about through the design phase, in which town staff made the determination that we needed to have some form of a protected crosswalk in the area. And so through that, we determined that a pedestrian crossover, or a PXO, is the right way to go about it. A PXO is, as I said, is a protected crossing, and therefore under the law, vehicles that are approaching this type of crosswalk have to stop and give the right of way to any pedestrians that are within the crosswalk, and cannot proceed until that is clear. So in this area in particular, we do have a number of vulnerable road users, such as the students that attend Nellis Public School. There's the Greenbelt Academy that's also on the corner, and in general, this area is just it has a higher volume of just recreational walkers as well. So when we went through this process, we determined that although it didn't quite, there's a number of different warrants that, there's a number of different requirements that are set out in the Ontario Traffic Manual for the type of PXO, because there are different levels for it, ranging from a lower level type D, which is basically just signs and pavement markings, all the way up to type A, where you're having flashing beacons, overhead signage, and some additional warning signs as well. When we were working through this, we determined that we were going to install a level 2 type C, which is one step above type D, in which we will have regulatory signs, pavement markings, warning signs, and will also feature flashing beacons for some additional, to add a little bit of additional awareness for drivers traveling through the area. although it wasn't warranted, staff felt that it was the right idea to add just an additional layer of, we would say, I guess, an additional layer of protection for pedestrians due to the fact that this will be the first pedestrian crossover on Town of Grimsby roads. And therefore, we're expecting there to be a little bit of a learning curve. Even though PXOs have been around since, I believe, 2015 was when they first started coming into use, or 2014. The town hasn't had any on, actually, anywhere, I don't think, except for the region. I think the region might have put one in on Main Street, but this will be the first on town roads. So as part of this, we want to make sure that we get drivers and residents used to the idea of having this around, and then again offer that extra layer of protection for pedestrians. So having said that, what we're asking for is or what we're recommending is that this bylaw amendment be approved, and that way we can add this location into our existing traffic bylaw, and therefore recognizing it as a protected crossing, and that way we can also keep a record of it on file. The timetable for the opening of this crosswalk is in line with the construction work that's going on Nels and Dorchester, which is anticipated to be completed by August 15th, which then mean that we were able to have it in place for the beginning of the new school year. As part of the work that we're doing to prepare for this, we're also going to be providing some educational materials to the residents in the area and residents in Grimsby in general, just to prepare them, get them, make sure that they have an understanding of what the rules are surrounding this type of crossing, and to allow for any questions or comments that might come from it. So with that, if I'll leave it there, and then I'll open it up if there's any questions.
Thank you, Michael. I see Member Smink with her hand up. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair. It's good to see you again, Michael. Not surprising. This is like my baby. So, not this particular one, but I was part of the committee that was got these implemented into the Ontario standards. It was from all over Ontario. You've answered some of my questions. In terms of the warrants, I do think we need to be careful, because as soon as we put in a new type of traffic control, there may be requests in other locations throughout Grimsby. And this might be already being addressed in the Transportation Master Plan. I'm seeing yes. I love the idea for this location. So my questions are, does it meet the warrants for a type D, or are we saying that there's latent demand that we expect will come because of the connectivity of the sidewalk system that will increase the traffic volumes? So that would be my first question. And then with the type C, are we explicitly considering that that is because it is first in Grimsby? The type C, the difference is the really, really bright flashing lights. So it makes it really hard for drivers not to see. And it also explicitly requires the pedestrians to push a button that will make those lights go. So I see a real benefit of doing the design as you have done, but I'm not sure that it should be a baseline, and that type D would not be considered for other locations. So that's my first question.
So, Michael, if you can clarify the difference between type C and type D. So, Member Smink, you mentioned that, while you're answering the question, just so everybody understands the difference, because Member Smink, you mentioned that type C is the type with the flashing. So if you could distinguish between the two, and so that way we have an idea of what we're comparing.
Yeah, sure. Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, so type D is I guess, the lowest level, which, for the crossovers, which just includes the regulatory signage, some warning signage, pavement markings on the approaches. And these, in order to determine which level you would use, it's based off of the volume of traffic on the road, as well as you can look at pedestrian volumes. In this scenario, in its existing condition, it would be, a type D would be sufficient. However, because this is the first of its kind, and because of the presence of all of the younger road users, we felt that adding that additional, but bumping it up to the next level just provided that additional layer of security or protection, and to allow walkers with a little more confidence that they were, when they press the button or when they are coming up to the crossover, they'll be able to cross over safely, as well as ensuring that the drivers in the area, there's no excuse for having saying that they couldn't see, or some people maybe not necessarily paying attention. It just brings that little bit of extra awareness to increase the conspicuity of it. And the second question, or part of the first question, this isn't, we're not anticipating this to be our standard. We are looking at into how we can adopt a more formal policy on how we deal with pedestrian crossovers. This was just because, like I said, this was the first one of its kind. We don't currently have anything to go off of, so we were trying to be, I guess, more cautious in the way we deal with this.
And just to add to Michael's comments for you, Mr. Chair, so the type D is signage only. Type C is signage with flashing lights. Type B is overhead signs as on top of the regular signs that go on the side, like a standard side-by-side street signage, traffic sign, that's the word I'm looking for. The type B would have the overhead signs as well to kind of point down, and then type A is a full signalized, or it's got flashers up the top too? Okay, so no, so the warrant called for a D. We elected to bump it up one level to the C, which is the flashing lights, and requires the pedestrians to hit the button to make the lights flash, so they're making a conscious effort to signalize the intersection or signalize that before they cross the road.
Thank you. Go ahead, Member Spink, and then I see you, Councilor Davoli.
Thank you. Okay, my second question has to do with the public education that's required, so I was glad to hear that you mentioned that. I do think something to the area residents makes some sense. I'm glad to hear that you're putting something for the public. Suggestion, probably both the Nellis Public School and Greenbelt Academy you already thought of this, is has a newsletter system that they could put that out electronically to all of the parents. So you're already doing that. The second question was, in terms of the public education, are we putting it up on the website? Are we getting in the newspaper? It would be a great story if we could get some coverage of that as well.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, so as of right now, we were anticipating direct contact with the schools. Area residents will receive letters, social media, town website. We haven't really talked about the newspapers yet, but that is an option that we can definitely look into. But yes, I agree. It would be good that the more eyes we can get on this, the better, as most people in the area are potentially going to be driving through this area. So we want to make sure everybody's up to date and is prepared.
Thank you. Councilor Davoli.
Thank you. A question for Mr. Palumba. So one of my original questions had been the difference between the different types, so thank you to our staff for explaining that. And I understand, based upon traffic volume and increased pedestrian volume, it makes sense to put this in and exceed what the warrants really are. This particular crosswalk is not at a regular stop sign or traffic light. Did that also have some bearing into why you decided to increase from a type D to a type C? Because we're actually stopping traffic at what I will say is a not normal place for cars to stop.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Typically, the PXOs are used in the mid-block setting, so not at a full, like a stop-controlled intersection or a signal. So this is more of like the main purpose of it. So that was, so when we were doing the design for the crosswalk, we knew some of the existing trends with the walkers that are coming from, say, the Redwood area and crossing the road to go to school. They were crossing at the Kennedy Road intersection, but we didn't have any sort of formal crosswalk because it's there's no stop sign north-south, right? So in this situation, we were able to say, okay, well, this would be a good option. We could put in a dedicated crosswalk where instead of them trying to cross in the gaps, they can go down. There can be, they would have some level of protection and allow for a safer way for the school kids or pedestrians in general to get across. One other thing, though, sorry, I forgot to mention that's in the report, is that this is actually going to be a raised crosswalk as well. So it will basically act as a speed hump. But
And then just a second question in follow-up. And perhaps it was something that Member Smink mentioned. I think we live in a time when we like to go above and beyond. And we know that when we do, it has safety implications and so on. And I like that. The budgetary side of me says, though, how do we make sure that we are very clear about what our standards will be in order to have more of these so that we don't go down what I'll say the slippery slope is, where everybody then campaigns and keeps asking us for what I will say is kind of a deluxe crossing compared to what they may have. So I guess my question is, how do we, will that be addressed in the transportation master plan, or is that something that your department needs to develop a policy around so that you say, these are our criteria when we're going to have a type D, type C, and so on?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So in terms of the cost, we just priced it out, and just I can assure you it's not a huge cost. It's under $15,000 for the signs. And in this case, we've actually looked at an audible signal as well, so it'll provide an accessibility feature for people who are hard of sight to press the button, and it provides an audio background too. So as part of the TMP and as Member Smith mentioned, the Ontario Traffic Manual, there are warrants that we use in determining what type is required. Obviously, cost is one of the things that we consider as part of our review. But again, we felt like this one was a good candidate for a level up. There will probably be other locations, maybe in maybe quieter areas and less pedestrian and vehicle traffic that will default to the type D if it's warranted.
Member Murphy.
Just what happened, just have two quick questions. What happens when you push the button, and is there a timer on it?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So when the button is pushed, the lights will come on right away. And then depending on the settings that are programmed into it, they'll stay on for a set duration of time. Typically, it would be the time it takes for someone to walk across the street, plus a little bit of extra time to just make sure everybody's clear. But as soon as you push the button, the lights are on. And as soon as the lights are on, vehicles are required to stop.
Any further questions for Mr. Palumba? Thank you, Michael. That was great. I'm generally not in favor of spending taxpayers' money where it's not necessary, but this is one of those cases where it is necessary. You've done a great job of combining the sidewalk with the pedestrian crossing, making this neighborhood safer. It's a concern that people have had for years, and I'm glad that this is going to be a long-term solution. That school's going to be there hopefully forever, and it'll make the pedestrians walking to that school much safer for a long time to come. I do share other people's concerns about where we put these in the future, so I do hope we have a very clear guideline in our upcoming traffic study that shows where they're going to go. But that being said, I can't think of a lot of town-owned locations where they would be appropriate, even if people asked for them. Most of the school are, I associate mostly with schools and where there are high pedestrian children traffic, and most of those are regional roads. So this is one of the few cases where the town has a crossing where it would be appropriate to put one of these. I can't foresee too many of these in the future, so while I share other people's concerns about the costs, I also don't think that there are a lot of places where this would be appropriate, but I'm looking forward to seeing what comes forward. We have a motion by Councillor Howe, seconded by Councillor Smink. Resolved that report DPW 2513 pedestrian crossover bylaw amendment for Nellis Road South dated July 30th, 2025 be received for information, and that the proposed bylaw amendment provided herein be recommended for approval by council. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Second discussion report tonight is DPW 2515, bylaw amendment for heavy vehicle restrictions, 30 Road and Kemp Road East. Can I get a mover and seconder to get this report on the floor for discussion? Moved by Councillor Korstanji, seconded by Member Rady. Is this Michael again? Okay, Michael.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. This report here is to recommend the adoption or recommend amending the existing traffic bylaw to include some new heavy vehicle restrictions. As you're aware, we currently have 3 escarpment accesses in town. 2 of those are now feature heavy vehicle restrictions. That would be Wolverton Road and Park Road South. These restrictions were brought into place in 2016, and basically they are a weight restriction. So to ban vehicles that have a registered gross weight of 15,000 or more, 15,000 kilograms or more. In this situation, we've been approached by the town of Lincoln as they share some similar concerns regarding heavy vehicles going up and down the escarpment. They've recently passed a bylaw to impose a similar type of restriction on 30 Road in the town of Lincoln, but due to the geography and the fact that 30 Road, as it comes up through Lincoln, it crosses over the border. They've asked for our help in implementing some restrictions to deter vehicles from crossing and traveling down on their side of the border. In this situation, in this instant, we are looking for to put in some restrictions along both 30 Road and Kemp Road East, and these are just the small sections that go from just over the border into Grimsby all the way to the town border, which would allow for us to reroute trucks or require trucks to travel to Mountain Street, which is currently the only access for heavy vehicles in the town. This has been a collaborative effort. We've been working with them closely to try to figure out where the appropriate signs are going to be placed, and trying to, like I said, trying to collaborate and help them out in any way we can. In this instance, once the proposed bylaws are approved, we'd be able to go out and install some signs in collaboration, again, with the town of Lincoln, and then also collaborate on some enforcement efforts as well through Niagara Regional Police and the MTO. The expectation is that as soon as we are able to get approval, the signs can go up as soon as they're ready. But with that, I'll open up for any discussion.
Councillor DeVoley?
I think it makes a lot of sense, given what the town of Lincoln is going to be doing. My question is, do you think this will have any impact on any farms around there? The winery, the one and only winery that we have there, and the one and only biodigester that we have in that area? Do you see it having any impact on those types of businesses?
I guess it potentially could. There are, it all depends on the routes that they're currently taking. Currently, Mountain Street is the access that we want, the town and the region would want heavy vehicles to be taking. In the instance where there is a necessity to get onto these streets, there are opportunities to have some exemptions in the bylaw to allow for certain things. This is mainly geared towards the instances of commuter heavy vehicle traffic that's traveling through. But if through our efforts with the town of Lincoln, we're going to be working to kind of make sure that this is rolled out properly and that any of these parties that could be affected by it are properly dealt with.
Yeah, Nick, if I can just add to that, and Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, that it is local deliveries are exempt from the restrictions, so the vehicles still, vehicles making deliveries to specific, residents or businesses on those locations are exempt from the bylaw because it's a local delivery. Also can call your attention to, actually Lincoln pulled this together in the appendix item of their report. There's a little drawing that shows you kind of which vehicles are permitted and which vehicles are not permitted, and it's just a clean way of showing you what type and size of vehicles that we're talking about. So your garbage trucks, your smaller delivery vehicles, buses, things like that are exempt, and then what we're really trying to tackle is the 18-wheelers, the big cement trucks, the dump trucks, and things like that. So there will also have the opportunity in cases where a company needs to use and that access for one reason or another, they can reach out to us and we can do a review and issue a temporary exemption to those trucks if there's a valid reason why they need to do that. So there is some flexibility for us to work around that as well.
Member Spink?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I appreciated the cooperation with Town of Lincoln, and I particularly noted in the Town of Lincoln's report that the Niagara Region Police had specifically asked for this restriction on heavy vehicles on 30 Road because of some breakdowns that they'd had to deal with and road closures. So that's all the more reason. It's not a nuisance. It's a safety hazard and an overall circulation problem if heavy trucks are doing that. Just a question in terms of the limits of this restriction. I believe on 30 Road, you just have from Ridge Road to the town line. My question is, in terms of signage, should that not be upstream of the nearest truck route that will take you to a truck route access? I tried unsuccessfully to find bylaw 22-08 online. I now know I can just ask Noah and he'll provide it for me, because I was just looking for a map. But I did wonder if those heavy vehicles were actually permitted along Ridge Road. I somehow doubted that and thought that perhaps it needs to be a longer section in order to stop those heavy vehicles before they get to the point of no return. Thank you.
Go ahead, Michael.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Currently, Ridge Road has a weight restriction on it all year. That's existing. Heavy vehicles are permitted on 30, but as part of this, the work that we're doing, we are planning on putting in some supplementary signage on both Mud Street before you actually enter 30 Road, and in some additional areas, just to make sure that there is opportunities for, if a heavy vehicle does go down that way, they can find their way out.
Councillor Howe?
Thank you, through you, Chair. It's interesting that Lincoln observed or got notification from NRP because that's not only happening on 30 or has happened on 30. Probably say Mountain Street come the winter season once every 2 weeks when one doesn't make it up the hill and for one reason or another. So the NRP is very aware of that. There are going to be those heavier ones that it's been nice that they've been diverted someplace else. But we've got them coming down our street constantly, and it's not as enforced as it should be. If I might ask, where is the EA on the Escarpment Crossing standing?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So I was actually, before you finished your question, I was going to say the same thing, is in terms of the ultimate goal will be to get the vehicles off of Mountain Street onto a future or new escarpment access. Proper escarpment access is designed safely to get the vehicles up and down. So the last conversation I had on the environmental assessment is that the EA terms of reference was drafted and potentially submitted, but I can certainly follow up with that and make sure that I'm accurate in what I'm telling you. But it's still in the region's hands, and we've been approached a few times as the RFP request for proposal, or terms of reference was being developed, but I can follow up with them again to find out the status and certainly update the committee and yourself.
Thank you. I was happy to hear that Niagara Regional Police were asking for the restrictions. My question is regarding enforcement, because, seeing firsthand Wolverton Road and knowing about Park Road, because I've spoken to residents on Park Road about the truck use of those roads. The feedback that I've gotten over the years is that Niagara Regional Police have difficulty enforcing it without scales and without MTO present. So I'm confused as to why Niagara Regional Police would ask for it, because every time I've mentioned to Niagara Regional Police, and we've had this discussion with Niagara Regional Police, they've told us that it was unenforceable without the scales and the weighing of the vehicles. So how is it going to be enforced? Because putting signs without any enforcement is kind of like reducing the speed limit without changing the roadway. It doesn't really do anything, because in my experience, and I'm speaking anecdotally, of course, trucks use the path of least resistance, and whatever way Waze tells them to go, unless they are experienced drivers in the area who know. So I'm never worried about a local trucking company using local roads illegally, because they know which roads they're supposed to use and aren't supposed to use, and they have a relationship with the community, and therefore have a reason to know and to follow those rules. It's when, and in defense of the drivers as well, they're both following what their electronic device tells them and the signs at the same time. And so if you can speak to those things, more so about the enforcement than my rant about the other stuff, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, to you, Mr. Chair. So the way that this was established, the method that was used, and I'll credit my predecessor, Mr. LaRue, for this, is that it's based on the gross vehicle weight. So that is identified in the actual vehicle or registered vehicle on the vehicle. So that avoids the need for any type of scale or anything like that. So regardless of whether the truck's loaded or unloaded, the gross vehicle weight, which is registered with the vehicle, is what is the ticketable offense. In terms of enforcement, yes, obviously, ourselves and the region have challenges. We've received recent feedback about some occurrences on Wolverton, and we've been putting our armadillo units, so they're basically traffic monitoring that you can't see that they're there. They're basically a box that sits on the side of the road, and as part of that, we're going to monitor to see how prevalent the truck use is, and if there's an opportunity to identify some trends, it'll help us kind of pointing the police in the right direction, so they're not sitting out there for 24 hours, but they're targeted within a certain period or certain time. Also, we would encourage the residents, if they see violations, to contact the town, and we can escalate that to the police and have them respond. So sometimes it's a matter of the vehicles are working in town, not realizing that they can't use that, or choosing not to, or to ignore the rules. So if we can catch them in the act, usually it's one after another kind of thing. So if they can, residents can help to give us a heads up, then we certainly follow up with the police and make sure it's enforced.
Thank you. That's what happened a few weeks ago. I have an old dog, so I need to take her out late at night because otherwise, anyway, I'm just giving you a little bit of background as to why I was out on the road at 12:30 at night on the side of the road, and I saw a stream of dump trucks going up Wolverton Road. I actually got in my vehicle and followed them to see where they were going, and I followed them to the edge of the Hamilton border, and then I thought it's outside of our jurisdiction, or the regional jurisdiction, so I reported it to you, I reported it to regional police, but after that, I just let it go. But it turned out that they were using the road illegally, and that there was some enforcement that it was also happening on Mountain Road as well, I guess. But I'm talking about dozens of dump trucks full of fill coming up Casablanca, and again, just following the route that was the fastest route for them, because it was either go all the way to Centennial Parkway. I was confused as to why they weren't using Mountain Road, which would have been the appropriate road, I guess, but anyway, they used that road. But it happens all the time. And going back to what Councillor House spoke of, I've seen many transport trucks get halfway up Wolverton Road and have to back down because they lose the momentum, and then all the vehicles behind them having to back down as well. So it happens quite regularly, more regularly than you would think. And it's just, again, I do blame the drivers, but I also understand that they're following I wish that there was a way to tell the companies that make the GPS systems, whether it's Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze, that road is restricted and it could come up as a sign, because if there were a way to do that, it might actually reduce the amount of trucks. Councillor DeVoley.
Thank you. I was just going to add that when we do get problems reported to us, or when we do our analysis and it tells us that there are still too many going up and down some of these escarpment crossings when they shouldn't be, that we really need to have a discussion with the MTO. And the reason I say that is because a few years ago, when we were in campaign period for the municipal election, and I was walking up and down Park Road, the MTO, they had an officer out there who was literally stepping out into the middle of traffic and stopping these trucks, pretty much taking his life in his hands, as far as I could see. But you're right, they need to be the ones who actually stop and charge them, and it's not always the NRP who devote resources to this. So discussions with MTO would seem to be a vital step in all of this, too.
Thank you, Councilor Davoli. Any further questions or comments on that report? Seeing none. Resolve that report DPW 2515 bylaw amendment for heavy vehicle restriction along 30 Road and Kemp Road East dated July 30th, 2025 be received for information, and that the Public Works Committee recommend council approve the proposed bylaw amendment provided herein. That's moved by Councilor Corstangi and seconded by Member Rady. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Moving on to our next discussion report, which is DPW 2516, Town Hall Modernization Update and Budget Amendment. Can I get a mover and seconder to get this report on the floor for discussion? Councilor Davoli, seconded by Member Smink. Is this one you, Brandon? All right, not passing the buck on this one?
Not on this one. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're bringing this report to provide an update on the status of our Town Hall modernization project. Report provides some background into how the project came about, outlining some of the challenges that we were experiencing with our previous setup at Town Hall that would be resolved through this modernization project. Some of the challenges included lack of collaborative spaces, absence of touchdown spaces that would allow persons who do not already have workstations at Town Hall a place to work when they come in. Overall, not having enough workspaces to support the full complement of our team. And essentially our seating demand was exceeding our capacity and we were coming unable to adequately accommodate the team. So the report provides further background into the process in terms of how we came to the approach that we took. I will spare you that explanation, but I'm happy to answer questions on it if you have any. So we did complete a competitive procurement process last summer to hire a furniture supplier. Our leadership team worked with that supplier to refine the initial conceptual plans, and then the final plan was completed, and ultimately we procured the furniture was ordered early this spring. So in the report, we provided some renderings showing what the new workplace now looks like, as well as some highlights as to what we were able to accomplish with modernizing the space. Just again, some highlights. We're able to increase our workstation capacity by approximately 19 spaces. We've converted 4 of our existing private offices, which were a single occupant, to a 2-person semi-private office, so essentially adding 4 additional office spaces. We've improved the ergonomics and accessibility of our workstations, allowing us to better accommodate different body types and functional abilities. And this was accomplished through things like height adjustable work surfaces, independently adjustable monitor arms, and new ergonomic office chairs, amongst other things. We're also able to increase our collaborative meeting spaces and provide new technology with some of those spaces to provide better support of hybrid meetings. Made some enhancements to the council chambers. You could see some of those here. And ultimately, the initial scope of the project is largely complete with some minor odds and ends, just some deficiencies that need to be addressed by the vendor. Works were completed within the assigned budget. It was around $790,000. With that said, as the project has progressed, staff have identified a few additional areas of improvement that we feel are needed to fully complete the space. I've identified some of those needs, including converting 1 additional private office to a semi-private office, replacing furniture that was previously out of scope, including the 9 private offices, 4 of the hub stations that weren't, again, part of the scope, and then the 1 workstation at main reception, which is a fixed counter right now. We're also looking at adding some additional privacy screening, window glazing within the interior offices to help with confidentiality, as well as the meeting spaces and to fix the glare that sometimes occurs in the council chambers. Lastly, we're looking at replacing some of the meeting chairs, the orange ones that are in the meeting rooms around the town hall as well. Proposed furniture changes will bring the workstations that we were originally left out of our scope up to our new standard. Again, equipping with them the same ergonomic features as being provided with the rest of the workstations. The total cost for the additional scope is around $250,000. As these works were not previously contemplated or accounted for, we are asking for additional funds to be allocated for us to complete this work. Accordingly, we're asking for council through this committee to approve an in-year budget amendment of $250,000 to allow us to proceed with the work this year. We've provided a plan in Appendix B, which helps identify the additional scope of work that we're recommending, and I'd be happy to take any questions if there are any.
Councillor Howe?
Again, through you, Chair, a couple of questions, Director. The pricing from the vendor, I'm assuming the same vendor because of they know what we're doing, but have we got some good news on that one?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So, yes, it was a competitive procurement process that we used to hire the initial vendor. Basically, the vendor is also a supplier of, I think it's the federal government or provincial government, or maybe both. So we lucked out in terms of we get really good discounts. We're a smaller organization, maybe don't buy the same amount of furniture as those larger organizations do. So the fact that we're aligned with them, we actually get the same pricing that the other provincial or federal agencies get. So yes, the price is consistent, and we're getting a benefit from that vendor in that we're aligned with the larger organizations. Does that answer your question, Councillor Howe?
If I can, just to continue. I think so, but the procurement for that first go-around, I believe, was ours directly. I don't think we were working through a buying group, were we? Or were we?
So yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we did a procurement that was the town. So basically, we put a procurement out and said, hey, we're looking for furniture vendors to provide this furniture. Here's our concept plan. The successful vendor, the low bidder, and who passed all the hurdles and checks and balances, as a benefit to us, is also the furniture provider who works with the federal government and provincial government. I can't confirm one of those, it's one of those two. Anyways, so we have the added benefit, although we put the procurement out for the town of Grimsby, they said, hey, you're a municipal government, we're going to give you the same deal that these guys get, so you get the greater deal. So does that answer?
Can I just kind of keep on it with the two meeting rooms, the Scarman and the Lakeview rooms. First of all, there's no reason for us to be looking for new chairs. We go through that with these, and we don't need to go through it again. But why not upgrade or modernize what we can have for sound system? You know, we get tied up that we can't have meetings because, you know, we don't have mics. But an owl, at the library, we've got what's called an owl, and everybody, you know, that does the exact same thing, and we don't all need mics. So I'm thinking that those rooms should be utilized as well. Okay, so that's my thought. But to go back to it, the portion, if you split it, you know, this year and carried it over into next year, what are we going to be looking at from, I guess, the turmoil? I know what it was like when during the month ago or something like that, when all that work was being done inside, and nobody's quite sure where to go and sit down or anything. I guess just to try to avoid some of that turmoil.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So first off, the technology is a very good point. We have thought of that, and that is included as part of the current scope of work. So we're in the process of procuring technology. The thought being we wanted to roll it out in the new meeting space first to see how that works, to make sure that we're happy with it before we roll that out into the both of the committee, what do you call it, escarpment room and the lakeside room. So idea being we'll be all on the same new technology that will allow that hybrid meetings. In terms of, I think your question was splitting the cost. So I can answer it two ways. I guess firstly, if I'm, what do you call it, guesstimating where you're coming from, that's not the right word. In terms of splitting the costs, all the funding is being received from a reserve fund. So whether we pull from that reserve this year or pull from that reserve next year, there shouldn't be an impact because it's from the savings account, not our operating account. In terms of the disruption to the team, I think I put in the report, this is why I've been suggesting that let's get it done as soon as possible. We already have momentum. We've already felt some of the pain. Let's get it done and over with. We have some busy years coming ahead, especially with the downtown project. I'd like, if we can, to get the money to get it behind us so we can move on. Understanding that there is an option that we've included in the report too, if there's concerns about the amount of money and this being an in-year budget, we've quantified a smaller amount that we feel as an immediate need that would need to be completed this year if council decided to say, hey, we want to defer the larger cost to a discussion as part of the final budget or 2026 budget. We would ask for, I think we identified 45,000, which we could focus on the immediate needs, so that we've given committee and council some options there.
Thank you. Councilor DeVoley.
Thank you, Chair. I guess I have two main questions, and I'll start with the financial question first, seeing we've just been talking about that. And I do apologize, but while you were speaking, I was looking up the report that the Finance Committee had received just last week. And if the balances haven't changed from December 31st, and I realize they might have, but the reserve was, for the town hall facilities, was at we ended the year at $947,500, basically. So I think what I'm hearing from you is that whether we do it this year or whether we split it next year, no matter what, the recommendation was going to be to pull from this reserve. And by and large, what that's telling me is that we have enough saved to be able to do that. But the question that the Finance Committee always asks now when requests come after the budget has been done is what else is envisioned to be used from this reserve in the future? Because you know, it's at 947, we pull 300,000 from it, but if we have another project 2 years from now or 3 years from now that's $1 million, then obviously we just snafu'd that one, right? So I guess the essence of my question is, you know, is this sufficient, and do we have anything major planned for the next 3 to 5 years where this reserve is going to be severely impacted because we take this recommendation now?
Yeah, very good question. Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. In terms of, I guess what I wanted to speak to is, so we've done a lot of changes to the facility that has given us some additional, what do you call it, capacity and time in the facility. So we've bought ourselves some more time. In the report, we talked about some potential options of when you run out of space, you either grow up or you kind of consolidate. The choice that we made was to consolidate, downsize the workstations, right-size them. So we've done this in an efficient way to buy some more time in the facility without having those huge expenses. In terms of projects, we've also done some additional lighting in the facilities. You can see that we've changed our facilities team has changed out the lights from the, what do you call, old-fashioned in case, and changed them with LEDs, so they're more, what do you call it, energy efficient. So we have done a lot of work in the facility to to modernize it. In terms of projects upcoming, I'm not aware of any huge or large projects. I believe HVAC system needs to be done in the coming years. I don't have the details on what those specific costs are, but I can certainly follow up with the facilities team. So nothing jumps out at me right now saying, hey, we got this big thing hanging over our head that we're going to have to pay for. But I certainly can take that away and just make sure that I haven't missed anything.
And then my second question, as you have looked at the remaining space and you're turning some private offices into semi-private and so on, and I think you answered the first part of my question when you said that we certainly have staff and they will be able to make good use of all this space. I'm wondering, is there sort of an underlying HR issue in all of this, in that, are we being fair, I guess, is my question to the staff, in terms of our policy as to who gets a private office, who gets a semi-private, who sits in the accounting firms we call the bullpen. Basically, you're out in the middle with all the rest of the cattle. And pardon me, that's an accounting term, not a reflection on our town hall staff. But you know what I mean? Like, are we trying to also sort of comply with what I'll call some HR fairness rules?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Again, very good question. So in terms of the equity, that's the word, of the spaces. So as part of the review, we identified, we did it by position, not by person. So we basically went by position and identified a different workstation setup. So of the on-the-floor bullpen workstations, if you want to call them, there's two types. There's one with a single surface and one with a double surface. The double surface was identified for people with technical positions who need the additional footprint for laying out plans and things like that. So that was like the building people, engineering team, planning people, and some others. So there was some thought behind what is the right size and what is the right fit for those people. So we've tried to identify, again, by position rather than by person. So in terms of the management team, it's been identified as we're running out an office space. So the choice was, again, do we expand or do we compress? So we said at the management level, so managers would be essentially doubled up or go into a semi-private situation. So again, we've identified, and this is part of the reason why we're asking for the additional space. Conversion is to create equality there, because right now one of the staff has been left out. So we do have some ability there, if we can make that change, that now we've accommodated everyone equally. So that was very important to us as we move through that. In addition, part of the rollout to our team was we developed a document which kind of laid out the accommodations and how we came to the rationalization of those accommodations as a way of kind of communicating to the team, trying to avoid any ideas or thoughts that, that we were targeting anyone, basically. We're trying to treat you equally, and here's how we came up with the rationalization. So does that answer all your questions? Okay, perfect.
Okay, Member Spink, and then I got Councillor Howe after that.
Through you, Mr. Chair. In fact, you may have some of the answer to this question. My question is more in terms of the history of this project, because I think it predates my involvement in this committee. And I'm reluctant to approve a 31% increase in the dollar value and scope of a project without understanding how it was scoped originally and why it was at that size. I do see some benefits in terms of project the the interior decorating, but, having a consistent look throughout the building, I think there's a real advantage to that. But if 5 years ago, council decided, no, we're only going to do this amount for this reason, I don't want to make a recommendation that we increase it significantly without understanding why it was scoped at that size originally.
Sure, thank you. A good question, and I can happy to answer those through you, Mr. Chair. So again, just to back up in the history of the project, it's probably been 5 or more years in the making in terms of where we started out initially. We brought in a consultant to help us in the initial phases determine what is the next step for us. We're feeling the pressure, we're running out of space. We have 2 people working in one station, now 3 people working in one station. Bring in a new person or a student, where are we going to put them? And we're all scrambling, right? So again, as part of that review accommodation strategy, we came up with a number of options. One of them was developing the basement. One of them was putting an expansion on the facility. Some of them were tearing down the interior office walls and building new office walls that are more, refined, smaller, basically. And the ultimate choice was, the most efficient way to do this is to make this workspaces more efficient. We want to avoid ripping down walls where we can because it's really expensive. So that was the approach we took. With respect to the why we scoped it the way we did, initially, maybe it was an afterthought, we left the directors team or the senior leadership team out of the scope. And now we're realizing with the ergonomic features that we've provided in these workstations, it's appropriate that we, again, from an equity mindset and from ergonomic perspective, we should be providing the same standard for our senior management as we are for the rest of the team. So originally the private offices were left out, and now we're realizing we should probably do that to make sure we're at an even standard and we're providing the same features as everyone else. So in terms of did council, are we overstepping or are we going against what council had previously decided? I think I would say that this was a recommendation from staff to treat it that way, and now we're realizing 5-6 years down the line, and now that we've put this new furniture in, it makes sense for us to do this, to convert the offices, so we're on a consistent standard, so we're providing the same equitability. I know that's not the word, but anyways, I'm making it up. So yeah, I think that hopefully addresses your question.
Councillor Howe, did you have another question? Member Rady.
Chair.
Oh, hit your button again. No. Oh, sorry. I'll point at you.
Yeah, it's pointing fingers. No, I don't know if you're aware of this. I'm the Director of IT Operations and Facilities for the federal government. So that's PSPC furniture. As soon as I saw it, I went, oh God, PSPC. Because that's the federal government Public Services Procurement Canada. Okay. So that's probably where you're getting your pricing, and it probably is good pricing. So, and we ripped all of our PSPC furniture out because it was too big, and we found that people, to put in perspective, our photocopiers are sized for 250,000 copies a month in each of our 4 offices, and we average about 25 to 40,000. People don't print, and they don't print because we don't give them anywhere to put the paper down. They've got a workstation that's 60 inches wide by 36 inches deep, and it goes up and down. And they have, I see the same furniture, but the 2-drawer pull-out. Everybody has a locker, and at the end of the day, they go home. Now, the reason we get away with this is we have 3 days a week in the office, and I don't think, do we have people who work off-site remotely? Is that an option in the town or not? Because it is with us, and that drives my question is, why aren't you downsizing these workstations? Because we went from 27 in Toronto to 44 in the exact same footprint by taking the PSPC stuff out. Okay, and we were able to sell it to Via Rail and get back at them for the late trains, you know, that we're trying to fix. So I guess do we have remote workers? If we do, I'm happy to share privately my thoughts on this, but the point is the hoteling concept is not new. It's been around since, 15, 20 years. And hoteling is you got no reserved desk. You come in and whatever desk is available is where you sit that day, and you don't print anything. You don't have anything to leave. You put your stuff in your locker and you go home. And it sounds really impersonal, but it really works in certain environments. And we're a government organization. Where we saw the biggest bang for our buck was collaboration. So if we had 5 people working on a team, and they were working on that project for 3 or 4 months, we said that little area over there is a team project. And nobody sat there, it was for the team, right? The assigned seating model's going away, it's expensive. And I agree with Margot to a certain extent, $250,000 increase, wow. That's pretty significant. And I looked at the floor plan and I don't totally understand it. I get the 2-person offices. I sit beside the vice president of IT on one side and a director on the other side. 3 of us sit side by side. And we put 6 workstations in a place where you guys are putting 4. So our leadership, we all sit on the floor with our workers. It's a great way to get to know your workers. It's a great way to understand what's going on. And if we need an office, we book an office, and we go in that for the day when we're doing HR reviews, et cetera, et cetera. You could probably still do that here. And it's just, I guess, do people work remotely? Because if they don't, then all you can do is look at more efficiencies on the furniture side. And PSBC, I know, has other types of stuff. You're very generous with your filing cabinets. Don't let them put anything in the cabinets. That's the key.
Okay, there was a lot there. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good questions. I've taken notes, so I think I can walk through most of them. So, and a lot of it we thought about, and I'm sure you that, that these were all in our mind as we kind of worked through this process. So the primary question, I think, was, do we operate in what do you call it, remote work? So yes, we do remote work, but I would say our current policy is 3 days a week, 3 days a week in the office and 2 days a week from home. I believe our management staff is 4 days a week in the office and 1 day home. I can do my math. 4 + 1 = 5. In terms of the one of the items that we did look at as part of the early on accommodation strategy was hotel-style workstations, and is that something that we want to consider? I think it was, maybe my opinion in terms of remote work versus being on site is maybe a little bit different. I'm maybe a little bit old-fashioned in terms of I appreciate if the team's on site more often, but I do understand the benefits of remote work at times, to the ability to kind of step away and put your head down and not get interrupted and to get the work done, kind of thing. So I would say, in terms of my gut feel in terms of capacity of the facility, I would say we're operating at 70 to 80% capacity on a daily basis. So the majority of the workstations are full. I don't think there's many vacancies. So in terms of the actual sizing of the workstations, you're correct. We did have workstations that were 10 by 10, and we've downsized them significantly. So they're, again, more to the current demand for, I guess, what do you call it? Route towards a paperless society. During COVID, I was very surprised because I was very a paper person, but I think during COVID, it really forced us all to make a big change when we were working remotely, that it's very rare that I carry paper around anymore. Everything's on the laptop. So that was part of our mindset in making the changes to facility. What else? Leadership on the floor. Again, that was one of the considerations we had early on. The challenge with that would be we were needing to tear down the existing walls that were off. What do you call it? Housing the management staff. So it would require significant construction work, which brought the costs up. Some nice things in terms of lockers. Similarly, we've removed a lot of the locker space or personal locker space for the workstations, and we've created a centralized locker area where we've got 40 or 50 lockers that people can use on a daily basis. What else? And then, okay, some of the nice things too that we've been able to accomplish through this, because there still is the need for some level of confidentiality, whether that's on a personal basis and you need to make a call to your doctor, or it's on the work-to-work basis where, you know, I need to have a conversation with my boss or another person in a confidential space. So part of what we've done here is we've allocated certain spaces, which we're calling touchdown spaces, that have the ability to close the door. So in the cases where, in the cases where we're doing the semi-private offices, one of those managers may have to duck out of their office and use the collaborative space the touchdown space to have that one-on-one meeting. So, hopefully I addressed most of your questions, but if I've missed anything, I'd be happy to speak further to them.
Through you, Mr. Chair. This town hall, I lived here in 2016. How old is this town hall? It's like 2011 or 2012 or something. So in 14 years, we've blown through all the furniture that we have, and we're just dropping $900,000 on more furniture, and we're doing almost the same thing. It's not a criticism, it's an observation. You know, I was challenged to make people fit in places and make it more efficient, and I totally agree with the COVID comment. In the federal government, we're not allowed to print stuff at home, so that makes it real easy. You're not allowed to install a printer. So you have to be electronic. And it's funny when you make and you're an M365 shop here. I've met your IT guy, he's a great guy. You can turn those features on too and force people to do this. The engineers never, they always need to print. We get that, you know, that makes perfect sense. But and accountants who do, all the color printing is done in Ottawa, and if that's the 40,000, so they need the charts, right? Because they don't understand, so they need pictures. So my observation is wow, in 14 years we've blown through $1 million in furniture with this 250,000. Wow, that's a lot of money in furniture. My observation.
I mean, having been part of that last project, I think you kind of answered the question about the furniture, and that is, we haven't blown through it. It's that the old furniture wasn't appropriately sized. And I don't know if it has any value for resale, but I think that most places are looking to downsize their furniture, and therefore it's difficult to say this is really good furniture. It was purchased, it was used well, it was maintained and all that stuff, but the secondary market for that type of furniture, I would assume, is not great. I would concur with Councillor Howe when it comes to the new chairs in the meeting rooms. I don't think that that's a priority. I mean, I know that it's coming out of reserves, but wherever it comes from, we have to put the money back. And the chairs in those meeting rooms need to be functional. They don't need to be fancy, and they are in good condition. And so I would say strike that. And whatever that saves, it might not be a huge amount. You know, it could be a couple $100 a chair. But again, I just don't like waste, and I don't like adding to landfill, and I don't like that those chairs that are perfectly good are going somewhere else. An easy solution to this is not going to be a public works, and it's not going to be very popular with staff, but an easy solution to running out of space is reduce the amount of staff that we hire. And we have hired staff a lot over the last few years, so maybe that's something that council members can consider when it comes to budget time, that every time we hire a staff member, it doesn't just require additional pay, it requires additional space. And we've gotten to a point where that additional space, and we will continue to see pressure on that space as you increase staff. That's not, and I understand that as the municipality expands, there's a need for new staff, and the services, if we want to maintain levels of service, sometimes you have to expand staff because you have more people. That's absolutely legitimate. But at the same time, every person that we hire comes with an additional cost, not just the cost of that employee, but the cost of the space that is required, the technology that's required, the people that are required on the technological side to support those people, all of the things that go with that. It's not just the salary that you see for a staff member. I like in-person. I think that's how you build a team. I think that when people go to work more often in person, it creates a sense of community. It creates a sense of ownership over the space. It creates, especially, and I can understand the difference between the federal government and the town of Grimsby. The federal government might have employees from all over the country that have to come together for team meetings. It doesn't make sense to bring people together there. But when it comes to the town of Grimsby, I think it's very important that we continue to have a team that works together in person and face-to-face. I'm old-fashioned that way too. I get that you also want the flexibility of space, but this isn't a wherever I lay my hat, that's my home situation. I really feel like people having a space also creates a responsibility to feel like you belong there, like that you should be there. And people notice when you're not there, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong happening. What I'm saying is that you create when you create a system where people can work wherever they want, then people are not missed. And, if I'm used to seeing the same person walking by my desk every day or working across from me every day, I build a relationship with that person. And that's not something that happens when people are working all over the place, or it happens less, and so I like the solution that we've come to. At all times, I'm in favor of reducing our costs. I think you've done a good job in explaining how those additional costs, $250,000 seems like a lot for what you're explaining from the scope of the work that you're explaining. So if there's anything we could do to keep that cost down, I'd like to see that happen. And I really don't think we need new chairs in the meeting rooms.
So thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. If I'm hearing, and if it's the direction of this committee, I can make a suggestion that maybe we modify the resolution to identify that either the chairs get removed from from the scope of work, or that I can take that back and ensure that it's been removed. Okay.
Is that okay with everybody? I mean,
And reduce the budget accordingly?
And reduce the budget accordingly, yeah. Member Smink?
Through you, Mr. Chair, really quickly. I don't think the overall working philosophy is something that is going to be changed. Did I not read that, the bulk of the rest of this work has already been completed and all of these new workstations are in place? It is what it is. The one thing that you said that made me say, yep, I can support this, was the equity. You wouldn't want someone turning down a manager position because they're not going to be comfortable, in terms of the height of their desk. And as someone who needs that variability, no, having that consistency throughout, I think is definitely worthwhile. Not sure why, the proper ergonomic stuff wasn't in place from the very beginning, but it is more expensive, and there have been developments in that area. So I definitely could support the modified recommendation that you were suggesting, Councillor DeFlavio.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? I trust that you could do that, but I don't think we need to put that in the resolution. I think that that's clear. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. So resolved that report DPW 2516 Town Hall Modernization Update and Budget Amendment dated July 30th, 2025 be received for information, and that the Public Works Committee recommend Council authorize a budget amendment in the amount of $250,000 funded from Town Hall Facilities Reserve for an additional scope of work which is needed to complete the office space. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. The next discussion report tonight is DPW 2517, Public Highway Dedication, Sumac Court. Can I get a mover and seconder to get this report on the floor for discussion? Moved by Councillor Kristangi, seconded by Member Smink. Brandon?
I'm going to pass the buck again. This is when it'll be Spencer.
No, we're happy to hear from you, Spencer.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So these reports, it's dedication of public highway, it's removing a 1-foot reserve. They used to go through the planning department just as a consent report. So switching the committee that it's coming through, we wanted to bring it through as a discussion report to ensure that you guys had an understanding of what was actually happening with it. So it's really like a cleanup. Our 1-foot reserve gets placed on a strip of land to ensure that we control the access to the private property behind it, essentially, or adjacent to it. So in this case, it's at the end of Sumac Court, at the dead end on the east end. There's a development that's going on behind there now. Sumac Court's going to be extended. For them to actually have access to the right-of-way, that 1-foot reserve has to turn into a road allowance. Right now, it's just town-owned land, but not a road allowance or a highway. So it has to be dedicated so that they can properly have access to Sumac Court and for Sumac Court to be extended. It's really, really simple, and that's really the gist of it for this report. If there's any questions, happy to answer any.
Thank you, Spencer. Member Spink?
Through you, Mr. Chair. My question had to do with, I was trying to interpret the plan of subdivision and what will be a public roadway, what is going to be a private roadway in that overall plan. And then related to that was on the new Sumac Court, which is sort of bigger, extended. There are 2 very minor roadways, maybe you consider them driveways, that come off of there. And it just was an unusual setup, and I wondered about the traffic control at that location.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. So this plan that you see here is an existing, obviously Sumac is existing with those existing lots and Linden Avenue that's existing. At the east end, there is a small little sliver, the 1-foot reserve, and then you get the new development, that's 911 Kerman. With that, the east end gets a proper cul-de-sac, so it was currently not to standard or under standard, or not to standard. So that's now getting built to current standards. There is driveways that come off of that cul-de-sac, and then there is also a private road that enters into the subdivision. So the road will be from one place. I don't have the drawing out. Because the road will come from one location and then it enters out onto 911 Kerman. Oh yeah, so it's the east end. Yeah, so the drawing in there is the existing, so that's not showing the actual new subdivision. So I can show you a drawing afterwards that has the new subdivision layout, or even the GIS might show it.
Sorry, just to add, so I think Spencer did a good job of explaining, but essentially the 911 Kerman development is at the east end of that plan where it says detail A. There is a new cul-de-sac very similar to what we did at the west end of Sumac that is going to be added to the east end of Sumac. This reserve is basically in between that cul-de-sac and the existing road allowance. We need to take that reserve out to allow that cul-de-sac to become a public road allowance. Does that help?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I understand that. I appreciate the explanation in terms of why the cul-de-sac is larger. So am I correct in assuming the new cul-de-sac will be a public roadway and that all of the connections, they're actually roadways because there's driveways off it, but they will be private drives? I did go to the planning documents in terms of the plan of subdivision. I don't know if there's been any changes, but to me, there were 2 of these private roadways entering into the cul-de-sac, and they were in close proximity to each other. I would just put it back to staff to ensure that there is, it's very clear who has the right-of-way, and that there is no setups with any conflicts. Thank you.
Oh, there you go. I stole it. Thank you. I think what probably be easiest is maybe Spencer and I can circulate a copy of the plan just to show you, hey, here's what the design is, just so you have a comfortable feel that it's been designed according to our standards and meets all the requirements.
So, yeah, my understanding was that it's a condominium roadway that connects to Kerman Avenue, and it will be a condominium roadway or a common element between the cul-de-sac and everything internal, other than the attachment to Sumac, is a condominium roadway or common element for the condominium. So
That is correct, Nick, yeah.
thank you.
Everything, yeah, beyond it is private.
Yeah.
We'll show you, I can show you a drawing afterwards, and yeah, we can explain that.
Yeah, there it is there. Okay. Any other questions or comments on that one? Seeing none. Resolved that report DPW 2517 Public Highway Dedication Sumac Court, Block 21, or on Plan 30M 280, dated July 30th, 2025, be received for information, and that the Public Works Committee recommend council approve the public highway dedication for Sumac Court as described herein and through the attached bylaw. That's moved by Councilor Cristangi, seconded by Member Smink. All in favor? That's carried. Finally, we have the discussion report, DPW 2518, Public Highway Dedication Peachtree Lane. Can I get a mover and seconder to get this report on the floor for discussion? I got Councilor DeVoli, seconded by Councilor Howe. Is this Spencer again? Please, Spencer.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So similar situation. It's 1 foot reserve against Peachtree Lane, which is actually on the back of Park Road. They were coming in looking for a severance. So they're severing the property, severing the back half of the lot. That lot fronts onto an existing road. In this case, the major difference is, as part of that development of the original subdivision on Peachtree Lane, there was actually built into the subdivision agreement a mechanism for the town to collect money for that 1 foot reserve to be turned into a public highway, and then that money be refunded, or not refunded, but provided back to the developer. And this is a way for that new lot that's being developed, not just getting those services for free. There was the road installation, the sanitary sewer, the storm. So in some cases, this happens where that reserve gets put into place, we collect the money, and then we would give it back to the developer the best we can. And it's the best we can because in this case, it's a 40-year-old development. So who is the developer? What's their contact? So we have the agreement, we know their name. It's trying to find out, can we actually contact that person and give them the money? So we've collected the money, we have it. We will see if we can get it to them. If we can't get it to them, then we'd refund it back to the resident. But it's for so this is for the same thing. It's just, in this case, it's just a single lot that's being severed off. So we'd be looking to dedicate that so that private residence now has access to a roadway. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to develop because they wouldn't have access to that roadway.
Thank you, Spencer. Any questions for Spencer on this one? I can think of a few other ones where there's similar situations where the 1 foot reserve was put in place because it's a one-sided development on one side of the road. There's some right across from Town Hall over here that back onto Main Street where they can only develop on one side of the road, and therefore a 1 foot reserve was left. I didn't like it at the time because I felt like the developer was making their money off of the development, but I also understand there's a cost to putting the services in, and that cost should be shared in the long run. So any other, seeing no questions or comments, I have a motion moved by Councilor DeVoli, seconded by Councilor Howe. Resolve that report DPW 2518 Public Highway Dedication Peachtree Lane, Part 1 on Plan 30R 5256, dated July 30th, 2025, be received for information, and the Public Works Committee recommend council approve the public highway dedication for Peachtree Lane as described herein and through the attached bylaw. All in favor? That's carried. There's no correspondence. Other business pertaining to committee. Member Spink.
Through you, Mr. Chair. This is my perennial question. I just was hoping that we could have an update on the Downtown Reimagined detailed design. Are we on schedule? What is the completion date? Are we expecting a PIC? What's our target date to issue the RFP? You know the whole series of questions. The other one I thought of as I drove over here was the Century condos. They have a lane occupancy permit. Is there a time limit to that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. So, yep, we're continuing to work away on the design for the downtown project. We're actually have a meeting in the coming weeks to start talking about some of the, what do you call it, finishing features, streetscaping, stuff like that. So underground design is largely complete, and we're working on kind of the above ground as well at the same time. Plugging away, and as much as I can say, the foot's on the gas. It is. So we're, as I think I said last time, we're looking at a later this year tender that could possibly move into like a January tender, but the idea is construction needs to happen early next year in order for us to meet our target for the October deadline. So we're doing our best to keep it moving, and I'm confident that we'll get there. And if there's any issues, I'll certainly bring it to the committee's attention. Did I answer, or I miss something? Yeah, sorry, through Century Condos. So yes, they're working away at their project. Understanding that our consultant is well aware that we will be potentially tripping over each other at times, but we're doing our best to kind of to work through that. I think they're looking at, maybe I'll defer to Spencer, he has a better idea on the timing of where they're at.
Yes, so through you, Mr. Chair. So for the road occupancy permit, so it's, with it being regional road, it's actually through the region for it, but it is scheduled until the end of June of 2026, and then they'd have to reapply if needed. With speaking with them, and I'd say they're on target, so they're on schedule. What we're hearing now, obviously, through construction and things can change quickly, whether if it's delays in product or ordering things, construction. So we always say, very cautiously, we check in with them and just make sure we have our downtown project. So it's just coordination as well when we get in with water main and our construction. Is that road lane closure going to be in the way or not? So we've been coordinating that as well, and things are looking good.
Through you, Mr. Chair. The one question that I did ask that I think that you missed was, are you anticipating that there is going to be a final public information center, or are you only doing the Downtown Business Association? Thank you.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So I'm not sure if we made the determine whether it be a full public or a DIA or a BIA or downtown specific. I'd have to go back to the team and ask them, what is our decision on that? But yes, we are doing a form of a public meeting. I just don't know the scope of it yet. The idea is we're going to get to the point where we have a comfort level in terms of here's what we feel the schedule is going to be. Here's what we think the impact is going to be, particularly to the business owners who are in the core area where we're doing the road reconstruction. Solicit their input at that time to make sure that we're able to, tackle that properly. I think I said previously, like we've been in close contact with the BIA. Sorry, is it Grimsby GDBIA? GBDIA, okay, the GBDIA. On a regular basis, we meet with them on, I think it's every other week, a construction task force. So they are also working on a communication strategy to help bring word about the businesses still being open, and we're partnering with them and helping them through that process as well. So, so I hope that answers your question, that a PEIC is coming. I just don't know the scope of, again, whether it's focused on all of the GDBIA, did I say it right or did I do it wrong again, businesses, or if it's like the public in general.
Thank you. So further to the Century Condos discussion, I've mentioned before, and I will mention again, I don't know if there's something that we can, if this is a conversation you can have with the region, but right turn traffic heading north should not have to stop when westbound traffic is flowing at that intersection. Every time I come to a stop there and have to come to a full stop, or the cars in front of me come to full stop because they have to, because legally they have to, I realize that the traffic could flow a lot better. And that could be something that is maintained after the construction is completed, during the advanced green. It could still be a right turn signal for eastbound traffic heading north, where Elm and Main come together. So I think you understand what I'm saying, where that's one. The other thing I wanted to mention was, I believe the South Service Road project is completed now, that the road has been reopened. It was closed between Kelson and 50 Road. I got a text message from Councillor Beattie, who was nice enough to let me know that it was going to be done earlier than anticipated and reopened. So I don't know if staff is aware, but I think so that's something that we could also make public, because we told the public that it would be closed until September, I believe. So just let people know that it's reopened and that the flow of traffic is happening again. Member Rady, you had a...
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Margot has her favorite. My favorite is the master transportation plan. If we could just get a verbal on where we are with that one. And I know I drive Brandon nuts with this.
No. Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. The reason why I laugh, I thought that was coming from Margot. So, I'm sorry, Member Spank. So yes, equally, it's actually Michael left because he knew you were going to ask the question. But no, we're actively working on that. I was trying to think of my analogy to tell you kind of where we're at with things. So I kind of put it towards a cooking thing. So we're in the meat stage where we're wanting to make sure the meat's well done before we put the bun on top. I don't know if this is a good analogy or not. So we did we put the bun down. We're now in the meat and potatoes kind of thing, working through the policy development. Once we get those policies to the point where we're comfortable with it, the bun's going to go on top, and that's where we're going to get some input on whether you like it or not.
I think that your analogies really need work. But other than that, thank you for the response. Any other questions? The next Public Works meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 24th at 6:30 p.m. Seeing no further questions or comments, the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night and a great August.